Anyway, eventually we decided to keep things the same only with more frequent fluid drainings. At the end, I asked if I could travel to Amsterdam, and Dr. Simons actually and literally laughed. But then Dr. Maria said, "Why not?" And Simon said, "Obviously, why not?" And Dr. Maria said, "Yeah, I don't see why not. They have got oxygen on the planes after all." Dr. Simon said, "Are they just going to gate check BIP?" And Maria said, "Yeah, or have one waiting for her." Placing a patient, one of the most promising phalange for survivors, no less, an 8-hour flight from the only physicians intimately familiar with her case. That's a recipe for disaster. Dr. Maria shrugged. It would increase some risks, she acknowledged, but then turned to me and said, "But it's your life." Except not really. On the car ride home, my parents agreed I would not be going to Amsterdam unless and until there was medical treat agreement that it would be safe. Augustus called that night after dinner. I was already in bed, and after dinner had become my bedtime for the moment, propped up with a gajillion pillows and also Bluey with my computer on my lap. I picked up saying, "Bad news." And he said, "Shit, what?" "I can't go to Amsterdam. One of my doctors thinks it's a bad idea." He was quiet for a second. "God," he said, "I should have just paid for it myself. Should have just taken it straight from the funky bones to Amsterdam. But then I would have had a probably fatal episode of deoxygenation in Amsterdam, and my body would have been shipped home in the cargo hold of an airplane." I said. "Well, yeah," he said, "but before that, my grand romantic gesture would have totally gotten me laid." I laughed pretty hard enough that I felt where the chest tube had been. "You laugh because it's true," he said. I laughed again. "It's true, isn't it?" "Probably not," I said, and then after a moment added, "although you never know." He moaned in misery. "I'm gonna die a virgin," he said. "You're a virgin?" I asked, surprised. "Hazel Grace," he said. "Do you have a pen and a piece of paper?" I said I did. "Okay, please draw a circle." I did. "Now draw a smaller circle within that circle." I did. "The large circle is virgins. The smaller circle is 17-year-old guys one leg. With one leg." I laughed again and told him that having most of your social engagements occur at a children's hospital also did not encourage promiscuity. And then we talked about Peter Van Houten's amazingly brilliant comment about this latiness of time. And even though I was in bed and he was in his basement, it really felt like we were back in that uncreated third space, which was a place I really liked visiting with him. Then I got off the phone and my mom and dad came into my room, and even though it was really not big enough for all three of us, they lay on either side of the bed with me, and we all watched ANTM on the little TV in my room. This girl I didn't like, Selena, got kicked off, which made me really happy for some reason. Then mom hooked me up to the BIP and tucked me in, and dad kissed me on the forehead, the kiss all subtle, and then I closed my eyes. The BIP essentially took control of my breathing away from me, which was intensely annoying. But the great thing about it was that it made all this noise, rumbling with each inhalation and whirring as I exhaled. I kept thinking about that. It sounded like a dragon breathing in time with me. Like I had this pet dragon who was cuddled up next to me and cared enough about me to time his breath to mine. I was thinking about that as I sank into sleep. I got up late the next morning. I watched TV in bed and checked my email, and then after a while started crafting an email to Peter Van Houten about how I couldn't come to Amsterdam, but I swore upon the life of my mother that I would never share any information about the characters with anyone, that I didn't even want to share it because I was a terribly selfish person, and could he please just tell me if the Dutch tulip man is for real, and if Anna's mom marries him, and also about Sisyphus the hamster. But I didn't send it. It was too pathetic even for me. Around 3, when I figured Augustus would be home from school, I went into the backyard and called him. As the phone rang, I sat down on the grass, which was all overgrown and dandeliony. That swing set was still back there, weeds growing out of the little ditch I had created from kicking myself higher as a little kid. I remember Dad bringing home the kit from Toys R Us and building it in the backyard with a neighbor. He had insisted on swinging on it first to taste it, and the thing damn near broke. The sky was grey and low and full of rain, but not yet raining. I hung up when I got Augustus' voicemail and then put the phone down in the dirt beside me and kept looking at the swing set, thinking that I would give up all the sick days I had left for a few healthy ones. I tried to tell myself that it could be worse, that the world was not a wish granting factory, that I was living with cancer, not dying of it, that I mustn't let it kill me before it kills me. And then I just started muttering stupid, 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 stupid over and over again until the sound unhinged from its meaning. I was still saying it when he called back. Hi, I said. Hazel Grace, you said hi. I said again. Are you crying, Hazel Grace? Kind of. Why? He asked. Cause I'm just. I want to go to Amsterdam and I want him to tell me what happens after the book is over. And I just don't want my particular life, and also the sky is depressing me. And there is this old swing set out here that my dad made for me when I was a kid. I must see this old swing, said of tears immediately. He said, I'll be over in 20 minutes. I stayed in the backyard because mom was always really smothery and concerned when I was crying, because I did not cry after 10, and I knew she had wanted to talk and discuss whether I shouldn't consider adjusting my medication, and the thought of that whole conversation made me want to throw up. It's not like I had some utterly poignant, well lit memory of a healthy father pushing a healthy child, and the child saying higher, 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 or some other metaphorically resonant moment. The swing set was just sitting there, abandoned, the two little swings hanging still and sad from a great plank of wood, the outline of the seats like a kid's drawing of a smile. Behind me, I heard the sliding glass door open. I turned around. It was Augustus, wearing khaki pants and a short sleeve plaid button down. I wiped my face with my sleeve and smiled. Hi, I said. It took him a second to sit down on the ground next to me, and he grimaced as he landed rather ungracefully on his ears. Hi, he said finally. I looked over at him. He was looking past me into the backyard. I see your point, he said as he put an arm around my shoulder. That is one sad, gone damned swing set. I nudged my head into his soldier, thanks for offering to come over. You realize that trying to keep your distance from me will not lessen my affection for you, he said. I guess, I said. All efforts to save me from you will fail, he said. Why? Why would you even like me? Haven't you put yourself through enough of this? I asked, thinking of Carolyn Mathers. Gus didn't answer. He just held on to me, his fingers strong against my left arm. We gotta do something about this frigging swing set, he said. I'm telling you, it's 90% of the problem. Once I had recovered, we went inside and sat down on the couch right next to each other, the laptop half on his fake knee and half on mine. Hot, I said, of the laptop of space. Is it now? He smiled. Gus loaded this, gave away site called Free No Catch, and together we wrote an ad. Headline, he asked. Swing set needs home, I said. Desperately lonely, swing set needs loving home, he said. Lonely, vaguely pedophilic swing set, 6 day births of children. I said. He laughed. That's why. What? That's why I like you. Do you, do you realize how rare it is to come across a hot girl who creates an adjectival version of the word pedophile? You are so busy being you that you have no idea how utterly unprecedented you are. I took a deep breath. My knees. Oh, I like the word. lonely, vaguely pedophilic, Swing said, seeks the births of children.